Nelson Mandela was a transformative world figure. Against overwhelming odds, he was able to achieve his dream of equality for the South African people. The Supper Club will examine his life, his work, and how that compares to other transformative figures right here in the United States.
Well, Nelson Mandela, he was born in a small village in South Africa, where his father was the leader of the tribe, and in primary school he was given the name Nelson, and Nelson was, of course, at the time in Africa, everybody who wanted to be a leader or a business leader or have opportunity in the world, they would have to take on a Christian name. So his primary teacher gave him the name Nelson, and that's what he ran with, Nelson Mandela, because Nelson was a Christian name. He went off to college, and that's when he felt like things that were in college weren't fair to African Americans. I seen a picture of Nelson Mandela in his college, and I mean, he was really one of a few blacks at the time that went to that college, of course, because of his privileged background. Of course, since you go to A&T, that's one of the people I can see that, because of course when Jesse Jackson came here, he captured, every time he gave a speech, he captured the people, and he influenced the people, and they automatically, people would follow because of that factor he had.
We finding in the similarities between what Jesse Jackson was fighting for.
Altogether, it was human rights. That's why.
You know, both of them had a different understanding and appreciation for, number one, obtaining better and feeling better with themselves and other people. In both cases, they were dealing with people that were fresh out of slavery. Their minds were still enslaved, and they had to give it to people, give this information to people at, the entry level, the beginner stage.
Nelson was Malcolm X before there was a Malcolm X. Like, he was a rebel at first, but he stood for his cause by any means necessary. His cause and his calling was unity, equality, and everybody being even on the same level. In Washington was more of I'm gonna look at him as like your old grandfather. Like his advice is just simple, sound. And Mandela he was pretty much the same way. You could tell they were wise by what they had went through and the way they talked and the way they spoke. That they have seen, a thing or two.
I think that he had a fascinating political life, and his criticizers would say that he was, an idealistic person, that he was, maybe someone that was beyond his time. Because you got to think during that time, it wasn't heard of. It was just as bad as, like in our slavery days, that, to think that African Americans or South Africans could be anything other than indentured servants or have this, separate class. And so, regardless if you play, football, Little League football in the blue states, or you are going to Bible study in the red states, we all binded by the United States. And so that was the kind of message that he was trying to give to the people of South Africa, that, regardless of the things that divide us, we can be a greater country if we came together for the good and gave equal.
Mandela was wise because I think, from most of our definitions, being wise is learning through a process. And it takes time, and that's what Nelson Mandela did. And he had a lot of things that were going against him. He was put in jail. He got kicked out of school and all this other stuff, and that didn't stop him. He kept going, and he kept learning in the process, because he became a more popular figure when he was in jail than before. And I think that's what made him so wise, because it was a learning process everywhere he went. He took a little stone, and eventually, he was able to free his people.
So what do you think the wisdom was of that?
I mean, the wisdom of life, I think, because he remained true to his purpose. Ever since he was a kid, he wanted to help the freedom of his people, and he didn't know how to do it then. But then, he went to school. That didn't work, so we learned from that what another thing he could do, and it was just a building block for him, and that's what eventually gave him all the knowledge.
Life lessons about Nelson Mandela. Persistence always wins, and sometimes it's not the way you go about it, but you have to sometimes redirect in the route in which you're going. Like Nelson's biggest platform was, equality and unity, and coming together as a nation. And
Nelson Mandela's motto was to keep pushing, never give up. That's what it was about. Okay, if you look at the interviews from Nelson Mandela, his autobiography, you'll see that everyone says, never give up.
President Nelson Mandela changed our lives in ways that still continue today. Since the time that he was born, he was put on this earth to fight for equality and equal opportunity for all. He is similar to that in the fight that many fought here in the United States, whether it was Washington, whether it was Du Bois, Jesse Jackson, President Obama. We have all fought the same exact fight, and we have learned the lessons from the man from South Africa who was jailed and still persevered, who was ridiculed and still persevered, and later on, after years in prison, he still was able to accomplish his dream of freedom for South Africa, becoming a Nobel Peace Prize winner and the president. Thank you, President Nelson Mandela, for being an iconic hero of our time.